Welcome back, Camden Catholic. All right. So this will not be long. Thinking in the neighborhood of like 8 minutes, right? Really, really short. But there's a lot of information in it, all right? And when I say a lot of information, a lot of stuff that I'm not actually going to say on the screen that I might actually be saying with my words, all right? So make sure you actually get these things down, right? So anyway, we left off here in class, right? Talking about the Estates General, all right? Talking about this big council of the estates that hasn't been called in over 100 years, but it has to be because Louis an idiot, all right? Anyway, we also talked about the concept really quickly in class, and if you didn't write it down, you're not the brightest bulb in the box, but I need you to jot it down now. The Estates General's voting practices were really messed up, all right? Each estate only got one vote, right? So constantly, every single time, they would have to try and vote on new tax law to try and fix the financial situation that was going on in, like, I was almost at London, going on in Paris and in France. The first and second estate would team up on the third estate and outnumber them, right? So fair tax law is, of course, the goal of the third estate. So they're not going to get anything done with the way that this is set up, right? So the estates begins to drag out and take really, really long time and last months, right? So the third estate begins to band together, though, and they were like, this doesn't make any sense. They were like, hey, let's unite the third, right? Let's create a new group, right? No more estates, no more first, second, third. Let's create something completely different. And just to give you a heads up, remember when we talked about like Marquis de Lafayette, like for 5 seconds, like way back about when we talked about like the American Revolution, how the French people supported him, and like the Marquis was like, oh yeah, this is inspiring. Well, Marquis de Lafayette's in the second estate. So something we need to diminish real quick. There were liberal-minded people in the first and second estate, right? And I'm not saying current day liberal or conservative or anything like that. So if you're getting your like all twisted up and everything, thinking that I'm like, oh, Mr. Terry supports the blah, blah, blah. Calm down. I mean, liberal isn't it like looking for change, right? So, but anyway, now liberal-minded people during this time period saw that the third estate was right, that things were unfair, right? That these were violating Enlightenment ideas, that these people should not have to actually cover the entire cost of the country. So there were members of the first and the second estate that believed in the third estate and wanted to push their ideas forward, but there was no way they were going to be heard because they were outnumbered in their own estates, right? So the third estate decides to band together with these people from the second and first estate. Make sure you jot that down. And they were going to give themselves a new name. They called themselves the National Assembly. And the National Assembly began meeting together. And they began meeting together and saying, hey, we have to figure this out. We're going to start voting together. We're going to start sitting together. We're going to start demanding change, right? Let's demand some change. Now, of course, who hears about this but other members of the first and second estate and Louis? And they start getting real touchy about it. And they start being like, oh, if they want to meet together on their own, then let's just lock them out, right? So Louis XVI, at one of the days of the Estates General meeting, decides to lock them out of the hall in Versailles where they meet, right? Where the National Assembly comes together to meet to discuss their strategies, right? So in a fit of rage, the National Assembly is like, you know what? Fine. He wants to lock us out of this room? Fine. Then we're going to go find an empty room, and we're going to meet there. And when we get there, we're going to take an oath, and we're going to swear to one another that we're never going to disband until our ideals are met. All right? And they did. And they actually ended up finding an open tennis court. And at that tennis court, they took what is known as the tennis court oath, right? Now, the tennis court oath looks a heck of a lot more fun than like some of these American revolutionary stuff, because this looks like a straight party, right? Like, look at this rave scene going on. This guy's freaking out over here. This guy's really wigging out, feeling himself like he's just like can't contain how like, oh. So at the tennis court oath, members of the first estate, the second estate, and the third estate came together and swore that they would look to try and change their country. Now, a lot of people, like a lot of historians, believe that this event is the beginning of the revolution, right? Because it hinges on the reaction to it. How is Louis going to react to this, right? So when he hears word of this, he decides to call the military, right? He wants to bring them in, right? He wants to bring them in to prevent anything crazy from breaking out, right? But if you ask me, July 14th, 1789, that's when the revolution began, right? So, because rumors, after the troops begin to move in, rumors begin to swirl around Paris days before July 14th, right? Days before. And these Parisians start seeing the military coming in and out, and they're like, they're going to destroy us. They're going to arrest the National Assembly. They're going to arrest the people that are supporting us. They're going to arrest all these people. we got to stop this. And so they begin to go into these hospitals and like military fortresses trying to find guns and food, right? So rumors begin to swarm Paris as troops were going to arrest the National Assembly, right? And so the Parisians, that at one point they went into an insane asylum and they found all these big like wagons full of bread and grain, and then they found all these guns. But then the problem was when they had these guns, they didn't have any gunpowder to go in them, right? And so they then looked and they saw this building. The building is this big guy right here. Let me show him to you really quick. Oh yeah, that's gross, right? It's the Bastille, all right? Not the garbage like music group. Oh, you know, it's really depressing when you're a historian and you put the word Bastille in, and the first 6 results are some garbage band that's not even very good at all. Now watch. The Bastille. Thank you. Now, anyway, yeah, the Bastille. This Bastille right here, this building, was a giant image of the old monarchy. This building that existed in Paris across the river, right, was a huge concrete medieval fortress from the Middle Ages, right? Medieval. And it had been converted into an armory and a prison, right? So, and it was this big image of the monarchy and the things that the absolutists for the longest time been doing to try and shut down the people of Paris. It's big, it's foreboding, it's scary, it's gray, it's dark, it's Voltaire actually spent some time there. Fun fact. And by spend some time, he wasn't vacationing. He was actually a prisoner. And so the Parisians are like, that's where we got to go. We got to destroy it, right? We got to destroy it, and we got to go inside, and I guarantee you there's gunpowder in there. And they weren't wrong, right? They found over 200 barrels of gunpowder inside of it. And so they actually swarmed up outside of the Bastille, right? One of the coolest facts about this entire thing, they showed up. And the people inside of it began to freak out. The Swiss guardsmen and the soldiers began to freak out. And the National Assembly, with the Parisians behind them, 800 strong, decided to start intimidating them. And the warden comes out and he's like, whoa, 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 everybody, calm down. We don't need to destroy anything. You're being blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so they killed that warden and put his head on a stick. Yeah, so bad call, warden. They then rush in super, super hard. And then there was a drawbridge that actually kept them out. And then one of the Swiss guardsmen actually let the drawbridge go, and it came down and crushed 2 people, right? So, and everything gets crazy, and they run in there, and they pull other people out, and they pull the other warden out, or the other governor out, and they cut his head off and put it on a stick too, and they're running through the streets of Paris with it. They find all these like barrels of gunpowder, and then they release the prisoners too. So most of your history teachers are going to be like, they released all these prisoners. These history teachers didn't read a lot. There's only 7 of them in there, all right? So those 7 prisoners, 4 of them were mentally insane, and so they just kind of wandered around after they let them go. But it's considered the beginning of the violent phase of the revolution because they burnt the symbol of the monarchy to the ground, and now Paris has been lost to the revolution, right? At this point, one of the chiefs of staff, Jacques Necker, I think it was Jacques Necker that said this. I got to double check, but I'm pretty confident. Jacques Necker approached the king, and the king said, what is it? Is it a war? And Necker said, no, sir. It's a revolution, right? Because the people of Paris and the people of France began to try and take the control of their government into their own hands, right? So, and they start trying to intimidate. They burn this image down. And every year in France, this is celebrated every July 14th. Much like we celebrate our Independence Day, they represent and celebrate Bastille Day, right? Bastille Day. And so they have fireworks displays, and they have all these other crazy and like intense celebrations, right? The storming of the Bastille in Paris is a huge event. The tennis court is a huge event. So you may need to make sure you know those, because there is a chance that either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, you could have a quiz. There's a chance, all right? Is there a chance? There's a chance, all right? So anyway, now, I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I'm sure I forgot to say something because I love the French Revolution. I'm probably leaving some detail out, and I'll probably remember it and come back to you with you in class. But I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend.